Hey everybody, we'll be starting in just a second. Alright, how's that work? Look good? Which mic am I using? That one. Alright, cool. Welcome back. We are going to keep working on this project. Last week we worked on some of these buttons here, which at the moment don't seem to be working too well, do they? No tests, no coverage. Might have to look at that. Oh, I know what happened. Those weren't totally working last week, and then I just pushed those changes a few minutes ago to get everything out there. Alright, so I might have to look at that first. The main thing I want to do, though, is get through some of these issues. So the goal for this site, I'll show you the site. There's the site, DevBetter.com. Right now this homepage is just a static page. In fact, this whole thing is just a static site. But I want to add a list of questions that have been discussed by the group. This is like a private coaching program that I run, so that people can discover what kinds of topics are being discussed, and that's available publicly. And in the videos, currently the videos are being shared using kind of a low-tech mechanism for members. It does not go through this website. But ultimately my goal is that the recorded videos of the different coaching sessions would all be browsable and searchable and available to members from the website. So that's what we're building. We have some tests. Let's see how those are faring. I think those all work. So let's check out why our build is failing and see if we can get that taken care of real quick before we start into the next task. And this is saying that, I think this is where we left off last time. .NET command failed. That's right, I was playing around with the YAML file to see what I could do to get that working, and apparently I didn't get it working very well. So let's go back in here and let's see if we can work on that YAML file. I have not added it here, so I normally would just switch to VS Code to look at it, but I think I'll add a solution folder to keep it in here so I can get it without having to switch IDEs. So we're going to add a new solution folder. We'll call it, we'll say DevOps for now. And we're going to add the YAML file to it. So it's an existing item, Azure Pipeline YAML. Alright, now I can play with this here, which will be a little bit nicer. Alright, I also was messing around with my quality settings and stuff for the stream. So Panchkov, you seem to be about the only person currently on right now. How's the quality? Can you actually read the screen? Do I need to make it bigger? I noticed in YouTube that it was not great. Let's see, also how's my CPU running right now? Alright, so my CPU is in reasonable shape at the current settings, so hopefully it's keeping up with all the encoding. A couple new people just hopped on, cool. Let me know if any of you have a chance in the chat. You know, is this better than it was, or is it good enough now to be able to read the text on my screen? Or do I need to do some change to the stream settings to fix that and make it better? I'll see if I can assess it myself here. But that's always suspect doing it from your own machine. It also chews up a lot of bandwidth for me to be streaming and trying to watch my own stream. Yeah, for me that looks perfect. It looks super good. Alright, so I don't know if that's what y'all are seeing, but hopefully it is. Oh, the other thing I did is I actually got around to adding some alert box widgets to the site. So if you follow or subscribe, you'll actually get a nice animation. So that's finally in place. I can test those out. Let me see. Oh, that's not going to do it. Hang on, I'm looking at the wrong URL. Let's look here. Here we go. So like if someone were to follow, where's my OBS? There it is. So if someone were to follow, it would look like that. Ardalis is now following. Alright, so hopefully that went through and you guys saw that. You can test it out by just hitting the follow button. We'll see how that works. Alright, so back to the coding at hand. Let's check that out. I'll keep the CPU running over here so I can see it. This test task is failing, and that's causing my build to fail, and that's causing me some angst. So I would like to just get that to work. And the thing that's failing out on Azure, if we look at the tests are not running. Build pipeline failed with 2 errors. Show me the actual error. Only one project can be specified. Right? I'm only specifying that project. I only have one project, but it thinks somehow that there's multiple. And my actual command is .NET test. There's the project, and then somewhere in here this is getting goofed up. Hey Ganesh, we are working on same kind of thing as last week, hopefully, which is I want to get through messing around with Azure builds, get them to the point where they're working, and then we're going to add some features to our site that's going to let us ask and show questions, and then hopefully, if we have time, display videos that will be locked down to only members of the site. Alright, so here is the command I'm running, and somewhere in here is an error that's causing it. That looks weird right there, doesn't it? Star, bracket star, I'm not sure about that. Yeah, let's just go to a simpler YAML file. Arguments, configuration, I don't care about that. Projects, I think all I need is projects. So I think if I just hash out this and save that. Yeah, we might touch on some Azure stuff. Most of what I'm doing is just going to be ASPNET Core, I think. But we'll see. This is Azure DevOps that I had broken at the end of last week's stream, and I just hadn't got a chance to fix it, so I'm trying to fix it up now. So with that, we're just going to do a quick commit. So git commit -m fixing test step, I hope. We'll see what that does. Okay, so hopefully that will do something to fix our tests. They all run fine locally, as you can see here. So we'll get rid of that and that, and let's just start by closing everything and go back to GitHub to see what our next task should be. So back out of here. There's GitHub. Here's my issue. Am I using VS 2019? No, not on this machine. I don't think. Am I? Maybe I am. No, this is not. This is 2017. No, yeah, I've got 2019 installed on other machine, but not on this one. All right. So I wanted to update this. Update the questions page to group by video, so it looks like that by date. So let's look at that. Where's our questions page? We'll go ahead and run the app. And it blows up. And that's because, I don't know. I'm running it against that. That should be fine. Let's do this though. In-memory DB context is fine. Here we go. There's my questions. There's my question list. And right, so I don't want this default list view like this with the table shown. I want to display each question under a heading of the video that it's doing. So I could do that a couple different ways with some link. I could probably do some kind of a join between question and link, and that's what I've got here, or question video rather. Is I've got a video, and the video has some questions. So if I get a list of videos and then loop through their questions, that'll do essentially what I want. Now it'd be nice if I could do that in a way that doesn't make a ton of different requests to the database, and so we'll look at how to do that in a minute. But we'll start with the naive way to do it first, because that'll be easier, and then we'll go from there. So let's find my page that's actually doing this work, and that'll be in pages, and that'll be under questions, and I might at some point want questions to be its own folder instead of here, but for now it's just one page. And it's got a questions model. And my questions model, let's have a look at what that looks like. That's just the code behind in this case, right? Yeah, so my code behind has a list of questions currently that it grabs just from the context. Now what I want to do is get a list of videos with their questions and have that be my model, I think. So let's do that. So this really just becomes a different list that I want. And instead of having a list of questions, we'll have a list of archived videos. Video. Alright. And that just needs a namespace. Archive. Where are you? Past tense. There we go. We'll call this videos. And this becomes videos equals await context dot videos dot toList. Just get them all. Now at this point we want to do a couple other things. We want to order by, let's say descending on videos date created. So we want the most recent to be at the top, and we also want to include their videos. Sorry, no, they're questions. Questions, right? Alright, so that should do the trick. And then I just need to do a double for each now in my page, right? So I can keep this same structure with the table for the time being. But instead here I can say for each video, goof that up, didn't I? In videos, it's hard to see the highlighting on my screen. My color scheme's not helping me any here. Alright, so we'll take that out and put that down here. There we go. Now, if I want, I could add a row or something with the video information. So let's try that. It's not going to be how I'm going to end up with this, but let's see, I could do a row span. I haven't done one of those in 10 years or more. And this will just be at video dot title. Doesn't like that. I'm not sure why it's not giving me IntelliSense, but video has a title. So let's try that and see if it'll actually work. This is not working. That's part of my problem. That's why I'm not getting IntelliSense. So, alright. Videos does not exist, but I did name it videos right there. So why aren't you seeing it? Pages, questions, model. That should be fine. Model. Do I have to say model.videos? There we go. I didn't have to do that here. Oh, I changed that already. It said model.questions before. Alright, cool. Got it. Alright, so that's good, and this I think might work. I don't have any data. Let's switch back to SQL Server, and so we want to just seed some data somewhere. We'll seed some data. We already have a DB context. So right here, this will be my seed data. I'll say if context.archive_videos.count equals 0. We're going to add, let's say, 2 videos and 2 questions. So context dot, let's see, var vid1 equals new archive video, title equals video 1, and questions equals new list. I shouldn't need to do that. Should already have that. So we'll just do that for now. Create another video, video 2. Name. And then we'll say var question A equals new question. And it goes with question text equals how do I A. That'll be good enough for that. And then question B. How do I B? Alright, so then vid1.questions.add question A. vid2.questions.add question B. Context.videos.add vid1 and vid2, and save changes. I'll move this to a seed place somewhere later, but that should work. Don't have any IDs on these, but it shouldn't need them for what I'm doing right now. I do want those dates to be here though, so let's make this be date created equals new date time last week, and then this one will be today. Alright, so then let's see what that looks like. Or what did we get wrong? Line 31. Alright. And this is getting big enough that I probably just want it to be multi-line. There we go. Alright, so now I should have some sample data. I should be able to see something on the page. And we can structure the page a little bit better, and then we'll start pointing it at real data. So there's that, there's questions. My rows didn't show up like I thought they would. But that worked. Oh, it was videos. Okay. No, it was questions. Okay. Oh, did I not close my TR tag? Is that what's going on here? Because these are not even the right columns. This shouldn't be over here. I obviously didn't do my HTML correctly. That's what I get. 1, 2, 3, TR. That looks pretty much right, doesn't it? I suppose I could inspect it. TD. Oh, right. If that's a whole row span of 3 just for video 2, that's not going to work. No, this should be alright. Why is this not in a different row? That's just weird. The row span's just not doing anything. Maybe that's the... Oh, because I said row... I want call span. That's the problem. Nobody's telling me that. Let's try that. Haha. There we go. Alright, that's what I wanted. Cool. Okay, so... that worked. Now I just want to get rid of the table, because the table's ugly. So let's change this to be some divs and headers. So for each video, I don't need any of this. And we'll call this, questions is still fine. Questions discussed. And for each video, we'll make this an H3. So, H3 that. Put it on the end. Alright. And then each one of these can just be a div. Or no, this could probably be an unordered list, right? These aren't going to be that long. Like that. So we'll do the for each around the li tags. Put that down here. And just display that there. And then maybe a carriage return. And we'll style this somehow differently for the timestamp. I don't need the ID. Thank you, Visual Studio. That's some great formatting. Alright, so I don't need any of this table stuff. And there's some better formatting. Alright, so on our questions page, we're going to loop through each video. We're going to grab its title and display that, and then within each one, we're going to display each question. That's going to look better if I have multiple questions for a video. So let's add questions A and B both to video 1. And video 2 just won't have any, and that'll be fine. In fact, that'll be a good test, because I should display something when there aren't any. So we can say here if item.question, stop helping. Oh, right, it should be video. Video.questions.count. How about any? Any, not any. We'll do that. Otherwise, we'll do that. Alright. Hey, Dev Chatter. How's it going? Did you bring some people with you? I didn't see it. Alright, so let's run this. Let's see what we got. Go to questions, and there we go. Auto hosting is still cool. I appreciate it. I have a thing that's supposed to notify if someone hosts me, but I don't know what triggers it. Do you know? One of these alerts. This one. Does that show up? Ardalis is now hosting. That's if I'm hosting someone, right? I don't know. No, that's if someone else. So if you were hosting me, it would say that. So maybe it doesn't work with auto hosting. Alright, so that seems like that all works. And that's good enough for me to do a commit, I think. And we can go back and test out here if I was able to fix that, which so far it looks like no. Okay. Yeah, and I didn't see that checkbox. I'll have to look for that. In fact, I'll do that right now. So what I'm playing with, if anybody's interested, is here on Streamlabs. There's this alert box thing, and so you can click these buttons to test those different alerts. And one of them is hosts. And Brendan DevChatter's telling me to show auto host could be enabled here. So we'll do that. We'll save that. And then it probably only generates the thing when someone starts auto hosting. But then it should show that. So we'll see if that works in the future. I'm still getting my stream widgets and whatnot set up. Probably always will be. Alright, so we'll put that away. I don't show an alert unless the host is for 5+ people, which means that inactive auto hosts don't alert. Okay. So there's probably a setting there that I would set it to a minimum number of people. So I don't get some trigger if I host you with one person. There's a viewer minimum. Sure, 5 sounds great. Let's do that. And minimum viewer count for recent events. I don't know what that means. Save. Cool. Alright. This is still failing, so let's go check that out again. It's my build pipeline. This is from a little bit ago, and the coverage report is failing. Well, of course it is, because it doesn't have the thing it needs because I commented it out. So let's just get rid of that step. I'm going to come back to that later. So there, we get rid of that. I'm going to do this in 2 commits because I'm already in the middle of something. So let's create a commit first for the work we just did on displaying questions the way we want. Git add git commit -m formatted questions page. Good enough. Push that. Now let's get rid of these code coverage tasks. So I don't need this. Will this work? No. Control KC does not work here apparently. So we'll do it the old-fashioned way. And we'll do the same here. Alright. I don't have code coverage quite working yet in Azure DevOps, but we'll get to it maybe later today, maybe in a different stream. Alright, so git add all the things, git commit, we'll say commenting out code coverage task in Azure DevOps pipeline. Push that up. Okay, so if you're following along, you could actually be checking out this page here yourself. You don't even have to be signed in to see this build steps. Just go out to Ardalis DevBetter Web on GitHub, and you can check that out. These things hopefully will turn colors. The tests should say how many tests ran, I think. Coverage will still be 0 because I'm not running the code coverage stuff until I get that fixed. And there, tests are passing. That's good. Hopefully this will be green here once we get through a couple builds. Okay. Let me see that issue again. I think we're close to where I want it to be. So, show results by video. Most recent video is this or that. Video from date. I should show the date. Let's talk about dates. So on my videos, I have a date here, which is the date created. And I want to display that on the page in a common way. I'm showing the title. let's do, I don't know what the best way is going to be to show the date with that. I guess we'll just put it in front of it. That's probably good. So we'll say at video dot date created dot toString there, and then even just having that space is probably sufficient, but let's do a dash. See how that works. And we can specify a format here, and the format that I prefer, which works great for basically any English-speaking country, we'll be able to figure out what this is to say something like dd mmm yyyy. I think that's right. I got to double check which ones are uppercase and which ones are lowercase, but we'll see in a second. So come here, show questions. That's right. So I probably don't need the leading 0, so we'll get rid of one of the D's. And then refresh. There we go. So the nice thing about this is nobody has to ask, like, well, when you say 3/8, is that March 8th or is that August 3rd with this structure? Alright, in your Twitch settings, enable low latency mode before your future streams. In OBS or in Twitch? I haven't messed with anything in my Twitch settings. Where would that be? Dev chatter. And how's the quality? Is this visible? Is it readable, legible? It's definitely high latency to get answers to questions when you ask people in chat, especially since they're probably multitasking. JZ to string, awesome, thank you. It was pretty awful last week. If you check out the YouTube video from last week, it's like I couldn't even read it. But I think this is better, so I'll keep these settings. Thank you. Semaphore 2. Alright, so somewhere there's a low latency mode setting that I need to go check out, but I need more info on that before I mess with it. Alright, so now let's figure out how to get the database working again. I had that working last week, and it only runs when I'm in production mode here, I believe. So let's verify that. We'll come into startup. I already have a seed data class. Look at that. That's where I'm going to add my seed data. So we'll get to that. Come to startup, and we'll see that when we configure production services, we're going to add a DB context with a default connection string. And otherwise, we're doing the in-memory one, which is here. Alright, so this is doing a check. I think I added this last week that basically says, hey, is this thing already there? Because we added it up here. And if it's not there yet, then yes, in fact, we'll use the in-memory database. Alright, so when I tried to run this in production mode earlier today, it blew up with some errors. Let's see what that error was. Boom, boom. Alright. And then it just crashes out without letting me see the error. So let's do this. Let's go drop down to PowerShell in that folder and just run it. Because then you can't. Oh, but I gotta run it in production. That's the trick. How do I set environment variables for this? I hate how PowerShell does environment variable settings, and also I don't want it to be a permanent setting. So there's a way I can just pass a command line tool to it. I can go in here, and I could pass in an argument that would specify here which environment to use. In fact, just to be really crazy, we can say something like use environment args 0, but we only want to do that if that's not blank. So let's say here, take that out of there and we'll do that up here. Break this up. There's create Windows Builder. Okay, so we can say var builder equals that. And then we'll say builder.build and run, like that. And we'll say if not string dot is null or empty args. That's not what I want. I want to grab the first argument off of here. Let's see. String end equals development. That's the default. And then if args.any, do that. Then environment equals args sub 0. Alright, and then pull in link. This is probably not the ideal way to do this, but it'll work. And then we can say builder.useEnvironment environment. And then we'll build it and then we'll run it. Okay, so if I pass in, so let's verify this still works and didn't break anything. That's all good. And close down some of these things. Yeah. So now we can drop to the command line and I can pass in production on the command line, theoretically. There's a switch to pass it though. That's what I gotta remember, because it's not that. Is it? No, it is that. Alright, that worked. Cool. Well, that's a lot of junk it spit out. Fail, EF core, query, exception, models, identity DB. I don't have an identity DB context. That seems to be the problem. Okay, that's because I didn't create that database. And that I didn't see because it's in its own area. So I've got the identity stuff is in its own area, which is how these work typically today. If you add membership and identity to ASP.NET Core, it'll go in an area by default. It has its own hosting startup here. And when I'm in production, it's going to use this SQL Server IdentityDB context connection in app settings, which I have right there, but I haven't necessarily created it on this machine. So if we look back at my home page, I have some EF scripts here, one of which will be to update that database here. That should be all I need. So I did this previously, but was on a different machine. I'm using two machines now because when I was trying to stream at high quality, it was having trouble keeping up with Visual Studio because I have a crappy video card and it doesn't help at all. Alright, so in here, we're gonna paste. It's not gonna let me paste. I'm just gonna type it out. .NET database update. And then -c identity DB context. Like that. That should create the database for me, or blow up. Unresolved service for this because no database provider has been configured for this DB context. Configured. Blah 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 blah. That must be because I'm not in production mode and it's trying to do in memory DB context. Alright, so I have to tell it to do how do I specify that I want that to run into production? I only have to do this once, so I'm just going to force it. So we're going to come back here to this, and where normally it has this if check, we're going to say here, or if it happens to be true, then do that. And that should force it to use SQL Server. Now this EF database update should do a build for me. New SQL Server, good. So that's working. and it did all the things. Perfect. Alright, so I can get rid of that hack that I just added to force it, and then we can go back and try and run the app. Now it should, oh, I didn't tell production. Yeah. Let run production. And it's doing adding real SQL Server DB context. Development environment is production, so that all looks good. So now I can hit localhost 15826. I don't know if that's the same one I was doing, but we'll hit it here. Too many colons. Alright, so that works. And then there shouldn't be anything here because now I'm hitting the real database. Boom, 500 error. Alright, what was the issue? Probably that there's no data. Unhandled exception was thrown. Cannot open database. DevBetter web app. Login failed. Oh, well, I probably have to do the same thing for that one. Because I probably don't have either database. So let's go back to here and grab this much longer script that I need. Let's see if we can successfully copy paste it into here. Why do you make this hard? Really? You're not going to let me copy and paste. Copy. There we go. Alright, now hopefully that will fail for the same reason, which is that I didn't tell it was in production. So we'll do the hack again, but this time in startup. I want to make sure production services gets called. And my other hack I just used won't work this time because there is no if statement. So the easiest way to do this is going to make this be actual configure services. So it runs. And then this will call the other one, which we'll just rename for a moment. So now they'll chain together like they would in production. All this to prevent me having to set an environment variable, right? And we'll come here, and we'll run this again, and it's going to work, and then I can undo my hack. And nobody that's watching has said, hey Steve, why don't you just use this command to set the environment variable in PowerShell? So I must be doing the right thing. Alright, now I created my table. Undo my awful hack here. Okay, that's all happy now. And let's run it again in production. So it'll use the database. Now everything's happy. 15826 is my port. There's that. Reload works. Hit the database. Works. Except that sure looks a lot like the data that yeah, I'm still seeding the data, but now it's going to go in the actual database. That's fine. Cool. So if we go look at our database, we can say view SQL Server Object Explorer, and we're in this one, and it's databases, it's DevBetter web, app and identity. So under app, tables, there should be a couple of records in each one of these. So if we view our data, there's that. If we view our questions, there's that. And then we can edit this right here. So we can say this one's timestamp is at 45 seconds, and this one's timestamp is at 300 seconds. And don't even have to do anything else but refresh this if it's still running, and look at that, we got our timestamps. A to do for later is going to be to format those better so they look like minutes and seconds. thought you could set the environments in the launch. You can, but I'm running it, I was trying to run it from the command line. Mostly because the one that was popping up kept closing before I could see the error. Which I can get around by hitting F5 and debugging, but I try and avoid debugging as much as I can. Because it's just really slow. Okay, so that's working. And we didn't add any new functionality. We just set up my local machine here so it now has a real database. So let's take that seed code and get it somewhere better, because it's in an awful place right now. Yep, no worries, Hockey Nut. Let's see. So I've got a seed data method here, and I believe this populate test data is supposed to be called from program.cs, but I don't think it is right now. Where's it getting called from now? One reference is in the test data. Okay. So if you're only being called from test data, yeah, I'm fine with using populate test data for production data as well. Let's see, I don't need these to-do items anymore. I'm going to get rid of those sometime soon. The to-do items just come with my template that I used, which is from a GitHub clean architecture template. But I don't need them in this application that I'm building. Okay, so if I were to run this in a test, it would create that video and all that. I want to be able to set this up in program.cs so that in here it will create the DB context and run my seed data. There's actually a nice doc for this that I refer to pretty often. Let me see if I can find it. EF core seed data program.cs and start up with ASPNET core. That might be good enough. My buddy Alex Dunn has an article on this. Let's see what he says. This looks an awful lot like the code that's in the docs. Alright, so here we go. So he's making an extension method off of iWebhost to call seed data, but this here with this using statement and this scope, that's what you need in order to run, well, in order to get an access to a DB context, because you have to get it from a scope because it's declared as scoped. Yeah, I used to work with Alex. He's a good guy. He knows his stuff. So what he is doing here is taking the original program CS, and I don't see where he's adding the call to this extension method. Oh, there it is, right there, .seed data. So he's adding that extension method to do it that way, which is actually kind of nice because usually it ends up cluttering at program.cs. But that wasn't the one I was looking for. So let me find the one that does clutter up program.cs, and that's going to be here. And we can look at maybe turning it into an extension method later. So scroll, scroll, scroll until we find the block of code I want to copy, which I'm not seeing. This must not be the one I want. Right, this is what I want right here. Alright, so I'm just looking for the basic structure of code that I want. I can go in here, and he's going to call run after. So we'll do the build step there, and then the, say var host equals that. I'm going to get rid of that, because that's going to happen down here. And we need that, and we need some DB initializer. Well, let's pull in my namespace I need for that. My DB context is, I think, app DB context, probably. That's what I usually call it. Okay, and then this DB initializer.seed. Well, I have a seed data dot populate test data that would work. So oops. We'll just call seed data dot populate test data. That will do that. And we'll pull in a logger. Really, for my purposes, I could just do a console.write line here, but we'll use the standard logger. And that should do that. So what that's going to do is every time I run this, it's going to call populate test data off of here without any thought about it, right? It's not going to have any intelligence about whether or not it should do it. So I really want to add some kind of if logic to this that says if it doesn't already have some, go ahead and do it. So I think I've already got everything I need in this bit here. So we'll steal that whole chunk there and throw that into my seed data thing. The only downside to this is that it's likely to break tests that depended on this other seed data, but we'll deal with that later. Alright, so we want db context instead of underscore context. Alright, and then this one we probably don't need, so we'll comment that one out. So if there are, really what we would like to do is say if there's any of these, dot any, then we got nothing to do. And then it means I don't need this or this, and my code doesn't need to be as nested, because that'll just short circuit. Okay, so we're going to take our seed code, we're going to put it into program.cs. It's still only going to run when it needs to. And this one, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. The time has come. And I think I have some tests of to-dos that'll break based on that as well. So, not under build reports, but under to-do, under integration data to-do. You're dealing with to-do items, right? So we're going to just comment these out because we're going to probably want to keep some kind of integration testing for the app, but I'm getting rid of to-do items, so I'll use it with one of my domain objects. Alright, so we'll build that again. It'll fail. We'll fix it because of that. We'll run all our tests. We'll probably have fewer of them now. My app was still running, so that was why it was locking up. Let's try this one more time. Okay, integration test. Of course, that API that uses to-do items will also fail. So we'll just comment that for now. Alright, so the basic task that I'm still working on is trying to get this seed data to run when the app starts. And right now, that should be working. Shouldn't actually do anything, but alright, so that runs. That's not production though. Let's go here and oh, that is production. Alright, we are running in prod. Alright, let's try that again. No. No. Let's try from here again. Alright, so that works. And we're hitting DB context in memory. So it's not what I think it should be. You say prod. Still in memory, isn't it? Yeah, it's still development. So let's look at that launch settings. Prod, production. So the ASP.NET Core environment is production. So did one of my hacks stick around where I was undoing that? So production services, it's going to say it's configuring production. And in identity, if it's production, it's going to say nothing, but it could say something with a logger if I get that working. I tried to set that up last week, but it didn't end up doing what I wanted. Let's try it from here. .NET Run production. Let's see what we get from this one. Start from scratch on the window. Yeah, that's definitely using SQL Server. That's production. Okay, so that's good. So why is it not working from Visual Studio? Let's shut this down. I don't want to have to drop to the command line every time I want to run this. So here's DevBetter Web Prod. And if we look at launch settings, the ASP.NET Core environment is production. Let's change this port just to make it really obvious that we're on a different port. And it's the wrong port. So why is that? There's 15827. So that worked, but it still says development. Anyone see anything I'm doing wrong here? Launch browser, application URL. This all looks right. I don't know why that was still red. Because that test failed and I haven't rerun it since. Alright, so that's green, so that's something. Alright, Control F5 in prod. Runs on the right port now. Does it run in production though? Still says development there. I don't know why it's still running in development. That's frustrating. Alright, well let's get the seed data working for sure. We'll just run it from command line and that'll be fine. So we're going to go to the data, view, SQL Server Object Explorer. I can nuke the questions first. So here's my question table, and just view the data and delete. I could run live share at the same time. I haven't tried that, but I'd be happy to give that a shot. You could, that's not what I want. Data. I'm going to just delete these things so that I can run the seed data. Okay, so then when I run this from production, it should run the seed method, and it should populate those tables. And it looks like it's doing so. Alright, so now if I come in here and I refresh, there's my new data. New IDs are 3 and 4 because identity. And same with this, if I view the data, refresh, there's those with 3 and 4 as well. Alright, so that all looks good. If I run it, it is running. 15826 is the port. So localhost 15826. Questions, there they are. That works. Alright. David C, you want me to run live share? Let's give that a shot. So live share is now on. And sure, I guess. Yeah, I don't know how to make it read-only, David C. So you'll have access, but hopefully we'll trust each other here. Right, that's fine. So then where's my URL for this? Auto improves performance for collaborators. Firewall will now prompt you to give. Okay. Sure. And copy that link, and we'll paste it in the chat. And that's that. And I could say make read-only right there, okay. But we'll leave it not read-only, that way you can help. It gets put on your clipboard. Well, thank you. Yeah, I hit that anyway. So let's see if you can join. Okay, so we got data seeding working, we got a real database working on my local machine. Probably want to mess with the seed data a little bit more to say what the timestamps are on these questions. So we'll format this a little nicer. David Coleman just joined. Welcome. And we'll say it's 30 seconds. And we'll do this one as well. Now what I'm going to need to do soon is be able to format these somehow to be like, minutes and seconds. So 245 seconds, whatever that is in minutes. There's probably just a moment.js or something I can use to do that on the client side. But optionally, if we want, we could try and do it all in Razor and display it and have some kind of tag helper or other way to do that. I'm open to whatever, as long as on the page it ends up displaying it nicely. Alright, so since I already just seeded the data, I'm going to come in here and just add those in, 30 and 245, because I don't want to have to nuke the data again. Alright, so that should work. And then we'll close those out because I don't need them anymore. I don't need that. I don't know why that's not working, but I don't need that. Let me just run it again on my end. And I'm probably still running it. Yeah, stop that. And that's not going to be right because it's going to be talking to in memory. So we're going to run it from here. And then we're going to hit it from here. And view those questions, and lo and behold, they have those numbers in them now. Alright, so let's go back to GitHub for a moment. Everything's green now on my build. That's good. Let's look at my issues. Group by video. This is done. Normally I do a pull request and associate it with this, but I didn't, so we're just going to close the issue. Let's look at our other issues. Link to questions from video details. Alright, so I don't have a video details page yet, do I? Or if I do, it's locked down. So let's go ahead and get a user in the database that we can use. Someone's now following. Conlab is now following. Thank you. Alright, so when we try to get to videos, it's going to ask us to log in. If we go and look at our databases again, the other database is identity here, and in there we can see users, right? And if we view that data, it's going to be empty because nobody's ever registered before. So in our seed data, we could also seed users and use some of the identity libraries to do that so that we can encrypt the password and stuff. And that's probably the right way to go. I think I have some sample code I can steal for that as well. So in the eShop on web sample that I work on, it has a default user I know that gets set up somewhere. It's been a while since I looked at that code, but let's see if we can find it. This tool over here on the left, by the way, is called Octotree, and it's a great way to navigate around inside of GitHub projects. So in Program CS, there's my stuff that's going to seed stuff. There's my app identity, DB context seed, which is probably in here, maybe? No? Maybe it's in infrastructure. DB context seed, there we are. And it's just going to do that. Takes in a user manager. Alright, so if I want exactly that, which is probably fine, I can take that code and I will need an application user and an app identity DB context, probably. So come in here, look at my identity, we'll add a new class. And what was that thing called? App identity DB context seed. App identity DB context seed. Hello, Raphael. And paste it in here. And then I don't have an application user yet, or a user manager. So let's pull in that and use the default one. There we go. Okay, and then if I go back to that GitHub repo and see in Program CS where that was getting called, user manager was being used to get that. So I can do that inside of that scope. So we'll grab that code and go to my program.cs. There's my scope. I can do it inside this try block. Try and grab a user manager with the namespaces. And let's see. That looks better. Okay, so we're going to get the user manager and call seed on it. Now what prevents that from calling it multiple times? Does it have any checks on there? It doesn't really. Normally this only runs in memory. This create async will fail if it already exists. So we'll just let it run. Either it'll fail silently or it'll blow up. If it blows up, we'll fix it. So okay, so we're going to stop this and run it again, and that should work. And this is our, right here, you can see it is adding in that username. Because it executed a DB command with all these parameters, that's adding it to the ASPNET users table. So now if we go look at ASPNET users and view the data, we'll see, if we refresh, that we have a new user called demo user at Microsoft, or demouser at Microsoft. It's a cat. And it's got some password hash that it created based on our super secret password, which is pass @word1. Copy that. Now a good trick for a demo app that you can do. Well, let's see. Do I have? A login page? I don't have a login page, so never mind. I was going to say, the trick is I could put this out on the page to make it easy for me to copy and paste it, so I don't have to grab it from here, but that's what eShop on web does when you run it. But let's see. This is not still running because I killed it, right? No, it is still running. Okay, good. Well, let's try this. Demouser at Microsoft.com. Alright, and super secret password, log in, access denied. So I logged in successfully, but I'm not in the role that I need to be in. So let's save that, and let's verify my role. I think it was administrators that I need to create and have available. So in archived videos, say index, I need the code behind. And here, administrators and members have access. So I need a role manager, and I need to add the administrator as part of that seed data as well. I think it's probably the easiest thing. Or, if I were using this, it would work. Let's make demo user be what I'm using here. Demo user at Microsoft.com. So if they're not in that role, we'll add them. So this is all just more hacky ways to do seed data, really. Build that. And it's running, so it's locked. Shut it down. Build finishes, start it up. See if it blows up when it tries to create the user a second time. Validation failed, duplicate username, but it didn't blow up, so that's fine. We can leave that in there. And we're running again. And so if we go back home, we're still logged in. If we go to videos, we're still access denied. Why? I should be in that role now. Where's that role check happening? That is in... Oh, this only happens if you can get to it. That's never going to work. We'll get rid of this for a moment. My seeding of that role is happening somewhere that he can't get to, the user can't get to first. Really, that's just telling me it needs to not be here. It needs to be somewhere else. But matter of fact, since I already have a user manager, I can just do that exact code inside my seed method. Let's just do that. That's better. So in the programs, yes, where I have a user manager. No. In here is better. Do that, and then do that. User manager, add role, default user. Right. That'll do it. Okay, so now I no longer need this code ever, because it's going to happen when I seed, when I start the application. And we'll do the admin thing as well. In fact, let's just add the admin person as well now. So in here, default user gets created and added to their role. Let's still have username. We'll keep admin at test.com. Admin at test.com. This is admin user. With admin user, keep the same password. Admin user goes with administrators. And this no longer needs to be in here at all, because we put it in the right place. And this can be back on there. Alright, and then we should be able to run. Is it helpful that the live share is working for you? Alright, I got some errors here. These are going to say we couldn't insert the role because it already exists. So apparently it'll warn if you have a duplicate user, but it blows up if you have a duplicate role. Is that what's happening? Or is it just they didn't add the role? Okay, good. You also got access to the code on GitHub if you want to grab it there, or just look around in the browser there. But I know having it in Visual Studio off of LiveShare is probably easier. Oh, really? That's interesting. There's that much of a delay. Okay. Alright, so the error that we're seeing here is that there's a foreign key constraint on ASP.NET Role users, and that's because ASP.NET users ID is failing. That shouldn't have happened. I'm expecting it to happen because of role failing. Let's see. Duplicate username, that's expected. Insert into roles. But the user ID is not working. It really ought to be the role ID that's not working, I would think. Do I have any roles? I have members, but not administrators. I wonder if it adds it for me. And in ASP.NET users, I still just have that one, so the admin user is not being added yet. Alright, so here, admin user should be getting created with this line. And then it should be added to this, right? I'm doing the exact same thing I was doing here. So why is it behaving differently? Did I copy paste something wrong? Admin user, admin user, admin user. Duplicate user ID, trying to add another one with that role. Right. Well, that one's blowing up because of duplicate user, which should be this right here, is failing because default user already exists. But as long as that just keeps on trucking, it should be fine. And then it's going to try and add the role, and oh, maybe that is what's happening. This default user never gets an ID set because I'm just creating it here, and so then that has a problem. Okay, that's the problem. I never try and load it from there. So if I say something like default user equals user manager dot get user, where's just get? Oh, there it is. That. Did I get user by email? Oops. This takes a principal. Username, I need more than that, Eric. Can I pass in the username here as a... No. Or should I just say get username? For, that's also the claims principal, that's not helpful. Like, I know the username is this, but how do I get the, I want to look up the user by that. So user.find, find by, there we go. String username, alright. So string default username equals demouser. So I don't want that much duplication. And while we're at it, string default password equals this. That becomes that becomes that. Alright, so now the user will look them up if we we'll look the user up if we don't create them. And this just needs an await. And that's good. And then down here we're going to do the same thing. String admin username equals that. So much plumbing work to get this stuff working, you know? Like, I really just want my app to run with some default data when I run it. And I gotta do all this stuff that's not actually adding value. Alright, try and create the person, otherwise look them up. And like that. Boom. Okay, so then we're hoping that will fix it. And the thing is still running, so get over here, kill that, thing runs, build succeeds. It still blew up. Role administrators does not exist, but members did, so where do I create members? Must have been in one of those code behind methods in here. I'm not sure where I create that. Let's see. Go here, let's find all usages of members, because obviously that got created. User manager, add to role, no, role manager, create async. Oh, it's in startup. Why is it in startup? That's just weird. That doesn't belong there. That belongs in our other code that's doing data initialization. We'll save that. We'll put that in our app identity DB context seed. May as well pass in the role manager here as well, I think. Right, so role manager of role. Must be identity role. Like that, and that's the role manager, right? And then this just becomes await for that. And the same thing for administrators, like that. Put them in alphabetical order. Should that really be in startup? No, it shouldn't. That's why I moved it. Some delay there. Okay, don't need that anymore. What is my error? There's no argument. Oh, right. I gotta pass in that thing. So, we need a role manager, which is going to be a role manager of application role, maybe? What did I say it was? Identity role. And then just pass that in. Should we use startup.development? You can use startup development if you want. I know you're joking because you get a smiley face there, but you can actually do like configure services, configure development services, configure production services. Cannot copy because I'm running. Okay, nothing blew up. We get warnings because user is already in that role. That's fine. Duplicate username, that's fine. Alright, so those are all good. If we come and check the roles table, it's got administrators now. If we check the users table, do I still have that open? Yeah, over here. It's got both users now, and ASPNET user roles table has both associations now. So with all of that work, we should now be able to use default membership to go be logged in as this person and see videos. And it still doesn't work. Let's see, I think I might have to log out and log back in, because that's often the case. So we're going to log in, demouser, default password, videos, and success! Yes! Another one of those things I know of, but never used in anger, the startup stuff. Yeah, I've got, it's in the docs. I read about it in the docs like years ago. So it's hopefully still there, but I use it in some of my projects. Like this one, for instance. So we can look at that real quick if that's interesting to you. In startup, I kind of glossed over this a little bit already, but if we kind of minimize down these different methods so you can see what's going on, that can go away. The startup class is somewhat dynamic in that the host that's going to get created by the web host builder calls into this and checks using conventions to see if a method exists to call that's composed from the current environment. So what that means is, like, if I'm running in production, it's going to check and see, is there a configure production services method to call? If so, I'm going to call it. And then I'm going to check, whatever my environment is. I could create an environment and call it, foo, and it would check and see, is there a configure foo services, and it would call that. Otherwise, if it doesn't find a matching one that matches the current environment, kind of composed inside of configure whatever services, then it'll just call configure services. Essentially, it always calls configure whatever the environment setting is services if it's there. Otherwise, it calls this one. Likewise for configuration, if you want to modify, or sorry, not that one. Likewise for configure, it will check for configure and then a suffix, configure development, configure production. You can also, I think it's a suffix for this one as well, you can also have the class itself have different names. So you can have the entire class be different by environment. If you say, is it a prefix or a suffix? I forget. It's either startup production or it's production startup. I think it's a suffix. Okay, so while we're here, yeah, it's just a convention. It's all using reflection. Alright, so while we're here, I don't need that role manager anymore. So the other thing that's interesting about this is that because it's totally dynamic, it's not strongly typed, right? There is no base startup class, there's no startup interface, there's no interface for configure. It's basically whatever the heck you say you want and you throw in here. If the service collection can get it, if the service collection knows about it and has that thing, it'll pass it in. So it's standard dependency injection, but it's method-based dependency injection here, not type-based, not constructor-based. So I can ask for anything I want here, and as long as it's in the DI container that was used in configure services, or even earlier in configuring the web host, it will go ahead and add that in here. And that's what I was using for this role manager before, but I don't need that anymore because I put it in the right place, so we'll get rid of that. That's all good. So could you use configure development services instead of line 1108? I think you mean 108 here. Yes, I totally could. And then I would have it chain and call the other one. Because you still want them, like, you don't want to totally duplicate the code. I mean, I could duplicate this entire thing, and then one of them would have these two lines, and the other one would have these two lines, and all the rest would be the same. And that would get rid of the if statement, and that would be fine. In fact, I wouldn't even have to duplicate it all. I could create a private helper method here that does, everything else. The main reason I think that this is using an if statement and not using that feature, one, they want to keep it simple, and an if statement is a little easier for people to understand. And two, there's an either or here, right? If there was no else statement on this, and it was just add these things extra if it's development, and otherwise just don't, then it would make it an easier case to do a configure development, because it would just call and then chain into the regular configure method. Whereas with an if else, the challenge is that this is not a particular environment. This is every environment, right? Except for development. And so I couldn't easily have a separate configure foo to do this work, right? I could create configure production, but then what happens if I'm in a testing environment, right? Then it's not going to catch that. So that's why it is what it is. All right, so let's see. As long as our tests still pass, which I think they will, we're probably in a good state to do a commit. Gotta kill this. Tests are good. So let's do git status. What all have we changed? I hate this color scheme. It's so hard to read that red on blue. That's fine. Git add all things. Git commit dash m. Let's see, what did we do? Wired up SQL server and added seed data in right places. There's that. Git push. There we go. And that should kick off a build. So if we go back out here and we look on our build server here at builds, there it is. So this should run and be good to go. With that, let's go here. We wanted to link to the specific question from video details. All right, so that's where we were when we decided to play around with seed data problems. So we're here, we have a list of videos, we have a details link, and I'm not running, so let me run the thing again. So running, everything's good, refresh, and there we go. So now on this details page we want to see a list of questions. Now if we go to the questions page, we're going to see perhaps, why does that not work? That should really work. Where's it linking to? It's not linking to the right place. Alright. So we'll just manually go to questions like that. We see it's video 1 that has the questions. So when I go to videos and I go to details of video 1, I should be able to see the questions. So that's what we're going to add next. So just to be different, let's do an actual pull request for this one. So let's come over here, shut this down, say git big git brand, no, git checkout dash b Ardalis, I don't need quotes, Ardalis slash question list. Alright, so now we're on our own branch. For some reason those tests didn't get added to, that's weird. I know I just committed those. Those are my commented out tests. They're still there. Why do they refuse to get added when I do a git add? No changes added. Oh shoot, I know why. Because I'm in a subfolder. That's my bad. This was me commenting out some tests. That didn't work. I'm still not high enough up. There we go, finally. That's the problem with command line. Upstream origin. Like that. Alright. Okay, so finally managed to actually do that, and I should probably just use a different PowerShell like this one over here for Git stuff. That would make more sense. Here. Okay, so that was distracting, and now I totally forget what I was trying to do. I believe it had something to do with adding a list of questions on the details page for a video. So let's go look at that. We're on a branch now. We can close all the things. Boom. And we're going to go look under pages, under videos, under details. Here's that. And it has a details model. And that details model may or may not have what we need. Now, at some point I'll probably create a proper interface for some of this stuff, but for now this is working. It's not necessarily like enterprise quality code, but we'll get there. So in here now I want to include the questions with this video. So we're going to say right here, dot include video such that video.questions, and that will let me get them. Otherwise they'd be null every time, because this is basically doing eager loading in Entity Framework, and there's no lazy loading, and you don't want lazy loading because it's evil. It will result in way too many database hits. Okay, so now I'm going to have access to those questions in my model by virtue of that include statement. So if we come out here and display all these things, somewhere I want to just display the list of questions. What does that look like? Title, date created, video. That's it. Okay. So that's title, date created, video. Okay. So let me do that. And this will say questions. Display name for, display for questions. Wouldn't that be cool if that worked? I don't actually have a template created to do this, but I can create one, and then it will just, this will render the question list using whatever template I said to use, which is actually pretty cool. So we might try and do that. It's a nice razor feature. The other thing we could do is say, you know, forget all this razor stuff. We're just going to make an Angular page or even a vanilla JavaScript page, call an API, because I have an API that we created, and have it just fetch and render the questions. But there's really no reason not to just display it on the page from here. And then there's an edit page that you get to see, but only if you're an administrator. That's cool. So yeah, so let's see what this does. It probably blows up, is what I'm expecting. So we'll come back over here. .NET run in production. See how that goes. Alright, so let's refresh this and see the error. There's no error. Nice. 3.3. So whatever the default renderer is for questions, it's displaying that, which is not exactly what I want. So, right, so let's stop that. Come back here. We'll comment this out for now. We'll come back to that. Let's just make it render how we want it here. So we're just going to for each. That's not it. There we go. For each question in model.archivevideo.questions in here. I don't expect these questions to be super long, so let's do something like hey David, I see where you're typing, at question text, and then I don't know, is I frowned on now? Timestamp seconds. Alright, that should work. And we can go back here and run it again. And then this will let me see that list of questions. How do I do A? How do I do B? Probably need another bit of HTML there. Like this should probably be in a div or a p tag or something like that. My HTML skills are out of date, so I'm not going to get a job as a front-end developer anytime soon with these skills. Okay, so save that, come back, run it, come back here, refresh. Okay, now eventually this timestamp will probably be an actual link into the video with that timestamp, I think. Because that's how YouTube works. You can just tell it to jump into a YouTube video at a certain time, and that would be handy. So that you can just go say, hey, I want to see the answer to this question, click, and then boom, you're in the video at the right spot. We're not quite there yet, but at least we can show the question. So we can come back to the list. Video 2 has no questions. Video 1 has questions. Let's add a default case for no questions. So in here, we're going to do the same trick we did previously, which is to say if model.archivevideo.questions.any, then go back and remember to put the not there. Then what we're going to say is no questions listed. Okay. And then we'll try and pull that out into a default renderer template. Alright, so this should work. It does details, no questions listed. Okay. That's good enough to commit. So let's go over here this time and do it in the right place. Git add everything, git status, there we go, git commit -m, adding question list to video detail page, git push, hooray. Okay, so that's good now. Now, let me double check how to do this. So, default render ASPNET core razor page. What is it called? It's a display template. I think it's the keyword I want. Display template. Razor pages. I really want razor page. Just say razor. Razor pages is going to be a false thing. So here we go. ASP.NET MVC display and editor templates. I'm pretty sure they pretty much pulled this forward. How do I create MVC razor template for this? Yeah, that's about what I want, but I want to make sure it's for core. I don't think I want a tag helper. I think I still want a template. So let's look at this one. Display templates. View share display templates type name, right? In my case, the type is question. So if I go to view share display templates question, I can put my code in there, and I can associate it with a model like this, and it should work. So the biggest thing is just where to put it. Alright, so it's, assuming this is the same, I'm pretty sure it is, it's just under display templates under shared. Alright, so I come in here. Now because I have Razor Pages and MVC stuff living together, my shared is actually down here under views. With the latest version of ASP.NET Core Razor Pages, you can put shared also under pages, I believe, but I'm going to keep it down here just in the interest of getting this to work, because I know this will work. So add, I don't think I can do a scaffolded display template, can I? No, that's not a thing. So I gotta just add a folder, add new folder, display templates. And I just need a little bit of code in there. And we're going to call this question. Where'd it go? There we go. Alright, so my model for this is going to be question. So this is at model question, and that is up here. So it's in that. I should really change that clean architecture namespace, but we'll leave it for now. So in here, give it the namespace, entities.question, get rid of all this stuff I don't need. And then in my details here, I want to take all this code, copy it, and put it in here. And then while we're at it, let's put in a h1 template there, just to make sure we'll see that we're hitting that. We don't need... Okay, this can't be question, this has to be video, right? That's unfortunate because I'm trying to display... It's really a list of question, isn't it? Can I do that? I could do that. Let's say our model is in fact a list of question. Or even an enumerable question would work. Right? Then this just becomes if model.any. And this over here becomes question in model. Right? So model is the thing. Okay, so that should work. And then the last thing to do is go back here and uncomment this. I don't know, that doesn't look, well, maybe it'll work. We'll see. I'm trying to see if I can show both of them. We'll see if that works. Alright, so that's a display template. I'm going to shut this down and rerun it. Stop that. Alright, we're on 15826, so we can just hit refresh. And my display template did nothing. It's the opposite of progress. And the problem is what I'm sending it. Right? Because my display template was for... Oh, that should work. That is an enumerable. So display for... Let's see. Display name worked. Display for archive.questions. Your type is list of questions. Does it have to match exactly? Does it have to be a list to match? It might be. Alright, here we are. One more time. Oh, this one had no questions listed anyway. Let's try the other one. Dude, none of these links work. Error. I'd like to see that error. Failed. Model item passed as type question, but the vdata dictionary is type list of question. So I know what the issue is. It's that list of question does not match what I'm passing it in details, which is list of question, doesn't it? So I don't need that. Save that. We're just going to do a display for that, where we know it's hitting it because we're getting the error from it hitting it. And the question is why, if that is a list of questions, list of question, why is that not triggering our handy little question thing here? And I think that might be because of the name of it. Like the name might actually get used. So do I have to name it list of question? How does that work? Because that naming convention is important. What's the syntax for generic? Let's see. C# generic as string. It's this backtick thing, right? Where is that? I just want to make sure I get it right. Where's the backtick? Backtick 1? Is that all it is? Let's see, razor display template for INRL. There we go. Just find that for me. Give me that. Display for your template name, or UI hint for your template name. Use object template for that. Seems I've had a common issue. Alright. Let's see if there's anything else new here. So I can give it a hint. Do Razor changes take effect without having to rerun? Yeah, they should. I shouldn't have to rerun if I'm doing stuff in Razor. I might be doing it out of habit, but I shouldn't need to. Alright, let's just do the hint thing, because that'll get us out the door here. So display for whatever, hey, here's my template name. I'm going to call it question list. So we'll come in here, or list question, I guess. That sounds stupid. Let's give it at least a plural. List questions. Alright, here, display for, comma, template name, list questions. Let's see if that's still the same. Looks like it is. Is there an overload that is only that? Maybe? Yes, that one. Okay, so that might work. Save that. So that naming convention thing, location of your shared not being what you expect. Yeah, the issue is, yeah, that I'm trying to pass in a collection of questions, but I named my template question, right? So they don't match up. It's expecting to get just a question, and in fact it's a list of questions. So you saw from the autocomplete when I was doing the search that it's a common enough question that it's got autocomplete. So here we go. Let's come back here. Let's go home. I gotta fix those links too. We'll do that next. Look at that. That's from the template. so that worked. So now I can clean up that template a little bit, get rid of that ugly h1 tag that I don't need. And at that point my details page is a little cleaner. Right, so it just does this. I just had to tell it the template, again, because of the limitation on naming convention for this. I don't know if I did a list backtick question or something on here, if I could somehow get that to work, but based on that Stack Overflow thread, it didn't look like that would work. And I really don't want to have a display template for object. That's just a total hack. Alright, so now let's figure out why those links aren't working here. These are always linking to the current page, which just means that the whatever I've done inside of layout to get those to work is obviously not working. Layout's not used by my current homepage, but I think it's used everywhere else, right? So, like on the details page, it's not using layout, nor is it setting it here to not use layout, so it must be using layout. And so it should be doing this, right? And maybe it's because I'm in a subfolder. This needs to be like that. Let's see. Refresh this page. Because home works. And then videos works. Now that looks better. Now they both go to archive videos. Videos works. Questions stays here. Home. Questions. Videos works. Home. Questions. Questions. Questions works. So why is it videos? Why is this one wrong? Questions goes to /archive videos. View start is time to use layout. Yeah, that should be the default. I shouldn't have to do that. That's got to be wrong. So why is that link wrong? So when I'm on the details page and it says go to /questions, why is that not leading to that page? This link works, so that's on the static home page. This link does also work, and going to videos also works, but then going back stops working. Alright, so I can go from questions to videos using that link. What's in DevTools? I'm not sure what you're asking, ConLab. It's 2 o'clock, so I'm going to have to wrap this up here shortly. I should do another commit, but I'd like to get the reason for this figured out real quick. So when I'm on the questions page, I can get to /archive videos /index, but when I'm inside of /archive videos, I can't get back up to questions. And this leading slash should do that for me, I would think. F12. That's okay, I can do that. I gotcha. It's not going to show me anything that status isn't showing me. So F12, and we can do inspect on this if that helps you. And you see it's got no link at all, which is why it's linking to itself. Whereas videos has apparently also no link. That's interesting. So maybe that is helpful. Alright, so if we go to questions and we inspect on this, that goes to /archived videos without anything else. And this goes to /questions. But then if I go to videos, these change. So what's the difference? One is in a subfolder, and the other's not. I don't think I need to do / on this, but we could try that. Oh, sorry, David, I'm messing with your typing. Not sure what you were trying to type in there, but archived videos, let's try that. So is / still a thing? I don't usually use that. Let's go here, let's go to questions, inspect. Questions go to the right places, go to videos, inspect. Still no good. So no worries. Yeah, so why is that not working? / doesn't work, regular / doesn't work. It's the list here that's having the problem. It's using the same layout. Doesn't do anything here that would mess with layout. Well, let's go back to Google for a second. Let's see. Razor page link doesn't work from within subfolder. Let's see. Tag helper. That's what it is. Okay, that's right. The argument is the page name, not the path. And so here, the only reason it's working from questions is because it's rendering itself, essentially, I think. So let's try that. Ryan Nowak knows what he's talking about because he wrote this stuff. So come in here, go to questions. There it is. Go to videos. Nope. Alright, nothing is working from videos. And that's probably archive videos index. That's right. That's ancient. Let's see. Route parameters. All I just want is ASP-page. Alright, I'm not sure why this isn't working. I have a page called archived videos / index. That works. And I have a page called questions, so that should work. So if we build this thing, And it could be that that's part of my problem is I haven't been building. So it might be that I fixed this some time ago and I was hoping that just rerunning it or just refreshing the browser would work. Perhaps that's not the case here because of the changes I'm making. So let's find out. All right, we go to the home page. These links are hard-coded. So we can go to videos and then, nope, still blank. But if I can get to questions, they work there, right? Questions works, videos works. So I think it's the route to questions that's the problem, because when I go to videos, well, no, that's not working at all. So when I'm in videos, when I'm in the videos subfolder, it just doesn't work at all. So something like Razor page, ASP page doesn't work in subfolder. Oh, maybe I need to specify the area, because no, I am doing that. I have the area. Don't I? Yeah, ASP area is blank. Okay. I shouldn't have to add a page route. I haven't done anything with that already, have I? That would be in here. I'm saying I have to authorize that one, but I'm not doing anything else. Yeah, there's nothing in here that would mess with those routes. Oh well, I'm going to create a GitHub issue to fix that later. So back here, this is done. I'll get that in a minute. New issue. Links to questions in layout don't work. Figure out why this code isn't generating any links. The href is empty. And we want this code on layout right here. Alright, good enough. Alright, the issue that I'm fixing with my pull request is number 20. So we're going to check this in and push it and then fix that. So there's this. Git status. Mess around with templates. That's fine. Git add everything. Git commit -m. Getting display template to work for a list of questions. Git push. Come back out to GitHub and use its pull request builder. Add question list to video details page. Fixes number 20. There. create. There we go. So then if I look at this pull request, we should see this build go. Hey, thank you. Suave Pirate is now following. We just mentioned you, dude. We looked at one of your articles. You're not even here. Somebody must have told you. On Twitter or something. I'll find that out in a few minutes. Alright. Let's wait for that check and then I'm going to be done. So, build. This should be relatively quick. The restore takes the longest. As an administrator, I can override it, but we won't this time. And if you're not familiar with GitHub, one thing that's nice about this is since I'm telling it fixes number 20, when I do merge this in, issue number 20 is going to automatically get closed with a reference to this pull request, which is nice, especially when you're on a team. So we'll show what that looks like. So the reason why this is not letting me check in, if you didn't see from the last stream how I set that up, I'll just go show you real quick. So you can come into here, go to your settings, go to your branches, and do rules. And so I've got a rule on master that we can look at. And it says that I require status checks to pass before you can merge, that I require branches to be up to date before you can merge. And the status check it's using is this one, which is coming from that Azure DevOps pipeline. You can even check this box, which will make it so administrators can't bypass it. But that can be annoying, so just be warned. Alright, so we come in here, the status check displays here, even on your list of pull requests, so we know that yellow tells me it's not quite ready. And then that'll get updated once the build completes. So if we look here, it's still doing a build, it'll be done any second now. So we'll watch over here. This should turn to a check mark or something. Something green and happy. And I don't think I have to refresh the page. I think it'll just actively do it. We'll find out. So there, it's almost done. Still in progress. Still testing. Alright. Still almost done. For real this time, it's almost done. It's a little tiny project, you wouldn't think the build would take so long, but the problem is it starts from a brand new VM every time, so it has to do a full restore and a full build, and everything is starting from zero. But that's what you get for using a free Azure DevOps pipeline. If you have a not free one, you can have your own instance that's already sitting there ready to go, and it's already got your code, and it only has to grab the diffs, and it's already restored everything, so it's already in its NuGet cache. It's tremendously faster. So keep that in mind. Okay, so that all passed and that dot did not get automatically updated, so that's one of the things GitHub doesn't do live. But if we refresh the page, we get the check. We come in here, everything's green now, all our checks have passed, we can squash and merge, we'll do it. It's going to build it again now, but that's to be expected. We come out here, do a git checkout back to master, and a git pull. That'll give me everything with all the stuff I just had, but now I'm back on master with latest. I'm ready to do a branch and do the next thing. So that was basically my git pull request checklist that we just went through. So check out master get latest, that's what I just did. And my next step would be to create a branch, write some code, go through this stuff. So that's that. Alright, so as usual I went a little bit over. So I gotta get back to some other work. Have a good weekend. I will not be streaming next week, so I'll make sure to take that off my calendar and such. But I will see you back in 2 weeks, hopefully. So, thanks. Bye. Tell your friends. Subscribe. Follow. Appreciate it. Cheers.